Throughout history, different cultures have imagined how the world might end. From ancient texts to modern blockbusters, humans have obsessed over apocalyptic tales for as long as we've existed. While some stories predict the end as final, others believe it's just another chapter in an eternal cycle. Let's explore how some ancient and modern beliefs about the end of the world compare. Since the dawn of time, humanity has told stories about its ultimate demise. We fear the end, but we just can't stop imagining it. Across the globe, cultures have spun intricate tales, some cyclical, like a cosmic rinse and repeat cycle, and others linear, declaring that once we're done, there is no coming back. But why are we so hooked on these stories? Well, it's the same reason we wonder about our beginnings. Humans are curious creatures. We want to know where we came from, and maybe even more, where we're headed. And often those answers involve disaster. Let's start with one of the most universal apocalyptic motifs, the flood. From Mesopotamia to Greece, from the Bible to Hinduism, floods show up again and again as the divine way to hit humanity's reset button. Take the Mesopotamian myth of Atrahasis, for example. It's the original flood story, written in cuneiform long before Noah started building his ark. Before mankind, there was a separation between the higher and lower gods. The higher gods would make the lower ones work for them, so they created humans to help carry the workload. They soon came to regret their decision, as the humans were often rowdy, loud, and quickly overpopulated. To be rid of their mistake, one of the higher gods, Enlil, sent a flood to wipe them out. He soon realized that even though it was quiet at last, they still needed people to work for them. So they allowed the few survivors to repopulate, with the promise that they would never repeat their act of massive destruction. To keep the humans in check, the gods gave them shorter lifespans and sent war beasts and diseases to ensure that they would not get out of hand again. Atrahasis' story influenced the Bible's tale of Noah, where God sends a flood but spares a righteous man to save humanity and the animals. Greek mythology also has a flood story that connects to its origin myths and tells about the end of humanity as it once was. This story is linked to the idea of the 5 races, which Hesiod describes in Works and Days. The golden race, the first and best race, people lived in peace, happiness, and harmony. The silver race, less virtuous than the golden race, and they didn't honor the gods properly. The bronze race, a violent and warlike race that ultimately brought destruction upon themselves. The race of heroes, a noble group of humans, often connected to famous myths like the Trojan War. The iron race, the current age of humanity, marked by struggle, toil, and moral decline. According to some versions of the myth, Zeus grew angry with the bronze race because of their violent and reckless nature. To end their existence, he sent a massive flood to wipe them out. Deucalion, the son of Prometheus, built a chest to survive the flood with his wife, Pyrrha. They floated for 9 days and nights before the waters receded. Once the floodwaters dried up, Deucalion and Pyrrha asked Zeus for guidance on restoring humanity. Zeus instructed them to throw stones over their shoulders. The stones Deucalion threw turned into men, and those Pyrrha threw became women. The survival of Deucalion and Pyrrha led to the creation of the next race, the heroic and noble race of heroes. The Hindu religion also has a story of a flood, but it hasn't happened yet. It is believed that we are in the 4th age of the world, each age being referred to as a yuga. Satya Yuga, Golden Age, an era of truth, righteousness, and purity, lasting 1,728,000 years. Treta Yuga, Silver Age, virtue declined slightly, lasting 1,296,000 years. Dvapara Yuga, Bronze Age, a further decline in virtue, lasting 864,000 years. Kali Yuga, Iron Age, the age of darkness and ignorance, lasting 432,000 years. We are currently in Kali Yuga, which began over 5,000 years ago. It is characterized by moral decay, materialism, and disconnection from spiritual values. It is believed that at the end of Kali Yuga, a new avatar of the god Vishnu will appear as a white horse and save the good people from the end of days. The world will burn due to a 100-year drought, and then it will rain for 100 years, creating a flood that will destroy the world. After all of this, a new cycle will begin. Undoubtedly, the best-known culture for its apocalyptic ideas more than anything else is that of the Mayans. They had a cyclical idea of the end of the world and believed that it had happened multiple times. Interestingly enough, they believed that the Great Flood ended the previous cycle of the world, which harkens back to the Greeks, Christianity, and the foretelling of the Hindus. The Mayans were diligent astrologers and created multiple calendars from their studies. One of these calendars told the supposed date of the end of this cycle of the world to fall on December 21st, 2012. There is not much said beyond the date of the cycle's end. Rather than prophesize the possible ways in which the destruction may take place, the Mayans committed more of their time to blood sacrifice, which they believed kept the world from ending before the cycle was complete. The Egyptians did not necessarily believe in a predestined end of the world, even though it was believed that when the world did end, the god Nun, the primordial waters, would reclaim the earth. This alone sets them apart from many other belief systems. They believed that the world had once been balanced, and this balance, Ma'at, was disrupted when the god Seth killed his brother, Osiris. It was because of this act that the pharaohs, the only ones believed to have the ability to communicate with the gods directly, had to make offerings on a daily basis to the sun god Ra. If they did not, the gods could die, and balance would be lost forever, resulting in the end of the world. The Hopi people also have a belief about the end of the world, and it follows a cycle, much like the Hindus' idea of the world being in its fourth day of Brahma. According to the Hopi emergence story, humanity is living in the fourth world right now. In the story, the people of the third world realized their world had become too corrupt and unlivable. To escape, they sent a bird into the sky to search for a way to a new, better world. This reflects a common theme: humans struggling with the consequences of their own mistakes and evils. However, the Hopi story is a little different because the people actively tried to leave their broken world for a better one, rather than being wiped out and restarted by the gods like in the myth of the 5 races of man. The people of the third world eventually climbed a ladder into the sky and entered the fourth world, but they accidentally brought a witch with them. This became clear when the chief's child died, as there was supposed to be no pain or death in the new world if no evil had been brought along. When the Hopi were about to send the witch back to the third world, the chief looked down and saw his child far below. Heartbroken, he decided not to close the hole to the third world. Because of this, evil was allowed to enter the fourth world. Although the story doesn't give exact details about how the world will end, the Hopi believe it will happen if humans fail to respect the planet. In Norse mythology, Ragnarok is the chaotic end of the world, ending with a huge battle between the gods and the giants. Several signs warn that Ragnarok is coming. First, Midgard, the world where humans live, will go through 3 years of constant war. This will be followed by 3 terrible winters, known as Fimbulvetr, the Winter of Winters. During this time, there will be great suffering, violence, and corruption. After this, Loki and his son, the wolf Fenrir, will break free from the chains that the gods used to imprison them. Their escape will begin Ragnarok. Loki will arrive on a ship called Naglfar, the ship of the dead, surrounded by giants. Heimdall, the guardian of the realms, will see this coming from his mountain home, Himinbjorg. He will blow the Gjallarhorn to warn the gods that Ragnarok has begun. Then, the wolf's skull will devour the sun, and his brother Hati will destroy the moon. The stars will disappear, and massive earthquakes and tidal waves will strike. Even the dead will rise from the underworld. The gods will fight the giants and the undead in a final battle. Many gods will die, and the earth will sink into the sea. But this isn't the end of the story. Out of the ocean, a new earth will emerge, a paradise. The surviving gods will live there, along with 2 humans, Lif and Lifthrasir. These 2 had hidden in Yggdrasil, the great tree connecting all 9 worlds. Lif and Lifthrasir will repopulate the earth, creating a new beginning. This story is similar to the Christian tale of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, but with a twist. They appear after the world's end instead of at its creation. The end of the world in Christianity is tied closely to Jesus' second coming. However, different versions of the Bible and various interpretations make it unclear exactly what happens at the end of days. In the New Testament, the book of Revelation, written by the Apostle John, describes the apocalypse. The Old Testament also includes apocalyptic writings, especially in the book of Daniel, written by a prophet who interpreted dreams for the Babylonian court. Additionally, Paul, also known as Saul, believed the world would end during the 1st century, based on a vision he claimed to have received from God. At the end of the world, good Christians will be taken up to heaven and saved for eternity by Jesus. This event is called the rapture. After the rapture, the Antichrist will rise to power, causing immense suffering. This period, known as the tribulation, is said to last for 7 years. At the end of the tribulation, Jesus will return to defeat the Antichrist in a final battle called Armageddon. Once the Antichrist is defeated, all evil, pain, and death will be removed from the world. Christian beliefs about the end of the world often focus on a final battle, similar to the Norse myth. In contrast, many other cultures view the end of the world as part of a cycle. Flood myths are common in Greek, Mayan, Mesopotamian, and Hindu stories. In Norse and Egyptian myths, the world ends when it is swallowed by a universal sea. In some traditions, like those of the Greeks and Mesopotamians, the gods intervene in humanity's downfall. But in Hindu and Hopi beliefs, the end comes through the passage of time or humanity's own actions. Why do we care about the end? Humans have always been fascinated by the end of the world. From ancient myths to modern-day predictions, we're drawn to these stories because they force us to think about our place in the universe, our purpose, and what comes next. Whether cyclical or final, the end of the world remains a powerful part of human imagination, and it's likely to stay that way. Thank you for watching.